right, here we go. Now it's time and place for City Commission of Huron, South Dakota, Monday, May 24th, 2021. Roll call, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinreich.
Here.
Craig.
Here.
Robish.
Present.
Mayor Harrington.
Here. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Agenda approval. Does anybody have any amendments to our agenda tonight that you know of?
Move to approve the agenda.
I have two
We have a
agendas.
couple.
Yeah, you jumped the gun there, bud.
All right, fine.
I have two we're gonna add on. We're gonna move 8.2 from petitions and communications to 3.4, Board of Adjustments. The second one is under consent. We're gonna, and it would be under 6.5 personnel, we're gonna add number 8, which would be golf maintenance employees. So with that, I roll call vote, please. Need a motion, Brian?
Move to approve the agenda with the additions and changes.
Commissioner Smith, need a second on that?
Second.
Second. Commissioner Weinrich. Now we'll have a roll call vote.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinreich.
Aye.
Craig.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. At this time, the city commission adjourns to convene as a board of adjustment for the following public hearings. And with that, we'll go to 3.1, and city planner Barry. will-
Thank you, Mayor. Marco Castaneda has applied for a variance to request that he be allowed to construct a 6-foot fence. They live on a corner lot, and as such, they need, that is considered to be 2 front yards. And so that according to Huron's code, that means that they can only have a 4-foot front yard fence, if you will. So Marco and his family have applied for a variance to that code to allow them to build a 6-foot fence to the side of their house. They live on a corner lot, like I said, and so their fence would come out from the front of the house, the face of the house, to the west property line, and then to the south property line, where he would butt up against the neighboring fence. And so I have looked at this. The hearing examiner looked at this, and we both agree that we'd recommend approval. The city building inspector, as you can see by his comments, has also looked at it. He looked at it from a safety standpoint. He didn't believe it would cause any safety issues or anything, so he is recommending approval as well.
Is the applicant here tonight?
The applicant is here. Marco, do you want to come up?
Good evening. Do you have anything to add to what Barry just said?
No, he just said it all.
He said it well?
Yes.
Okay. Does any on the commission have any questions for the applicant since he's here? Okay. Seeing none, thank you for being. With that, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Weinrich. Need a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion by the board that they would like to? Any questions from the board? Yes, Mr. Robish.
Thank you for that. Just a little clarification on that. That fence that he's abutting to is a 6-foot fence already. That's kind of why that there's really probably no opposition and why there's saying, yes, go ahead and do it. Because a lot of people will say, well, that guy got to go 6 feet and I can only go 4 feet. That's exactly why it's like that. Okay? Just so we're clear on that.
Yep, sounds good. Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinreich.
Aye.
Craig.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. 3.2, Barry.
Okay, 3.2, Jim and Sherry Wold have recently purchased a house at 369 14th Street Southwest. They'd like to construct a garage. Originally, this application was submitted asking that they be allowed to build closer than what is allowed by code to their rear property line. And they wanted to be within 12 feet of their rear property line. They have since asked that that be amended, and the hearing examiner agreed to move it to the front of the face of the house, or the face of the existing garage, which would put them about 18 feet off the rear of the property line, or off the rear property line. So we looked at this. There's no impact basically on any of the surrounding homes. It's very sheltered and secluded in his rear yard, and so we would recommend approval.
Okay. Is the applicant here tonight? Would you like to speak of this?
Just appreciate you looking at it for us.
Okay, thank you. I need a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Commissioner Smith, motion to approve. Need a second?
Second.
Commissioner Weimers, thank you. With that, is there any discussion? Any questions from the commissioner?
So at the
Mr.
night
Gray.
of there was talk about the driveway, and I see we do have a new driveway here. Now, is this a new curb approach now? Because I know the
There-
night of, there was some question about whether there'd be new.
Jim, you want to come up and answer what your plan is for that?
Did the drawing, did it get passed out?
No, it is not. So you just have to.
It's in the
Oh,
packet.
yes, there it is. That's it, right there. So it is, that is
See what's in
included.
our
Sorry.
packet.
Yeah, and I've
Should
got
have
one
brought my
here.
own, I apologize.
Yeah.
And she sent them out. So I
Okay,
did.
so she did send them out.
I just
Okay.
know on the other night when we met, there was some question about whether you'd have to do a new curb approach or not. What year? This would be, you'd have two separate driveways.
Yes, and there will be a curb approach.
Is there any concern for that, just from a traffic
No,
flow up there?
I didn't have any from a traffic standpoint.
Some of the reasoning behind, may I?
Yes.
Mayor Harrington. And others, if you note, during school, it's really hard to get backed out into traffic. And some of the idea behind that is so that my wife is able to back out and leave. So as far as safety concern, that was some of the motivation behind it in the first place.
Okay. Any other discussion, questions for Jim? Thank you, Jim. Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinrichs.
Aye.
Brad.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. We'll move on to 3.3.
Okay, thank you. This variance was filed by the Karen Baptist Church. They are in the process or attempting to purchase what was formerly a mobile home park owned by Todd Bruschi up by the former VFW building in northeast Huron up there. And so, since that was zoned R6 for mobile homes, that's not an allowable use to construct a church up there, which is their end goal. And so Todd Bruschi has made application along with them to, on this zoning variance. And so they're asking they be allowed to construct a church up there. We have had a number of people inquire about this, but in all of those cases, there were no negative comments. They were just curious about what was going to be built, how big it was going to be, some of those things. And so we looked at it and we thought that was a good use for the facilities, just simply because that underground infrastructure is never going to work for another mobile home again, so it would be almost cost prohibitive for that to ever be rehabilitated into a mobile home park again. So that was one of the things we looked at, and also this would give them a chance to continue to grow with their congregation and things like that, give them more room, because that's part of the issue. They're out of room with the facility that they're in today. So we would recommend approval of staff.
Are the applicants here? Would you like to speak? Okay, come on up.
Yeah, on behalf of Christ Baptist Church, we thank you so much for your, give a, chance to build our church there. So we appreciate all of your, help us.
Okay, all right, good.
So we would recommend approval of that
Okay.
variances.
Any discussion by the commission on this?
I-
Yes, Commissioner Robish.
And I'm sorry about this, Barry, I meant to get with Rob and Chad about this first. You were talking about the infrastructure.
Mhm.
Where does that water and sewer, did it come out to the south, to the west, or both?
I think the water is in the south in the front there, I believe, in that service road. I'm not exactly sure where it is for the sewer. Dennis, do you know where that's at?
I would have said probably in Long Ridge.
That's kind of what, that's how I remembered it from years ago, but,
So just by that, and I'm not, it's none of my business, but I'm sure the applicants will need to know that
right.
that will all have to be torn out and without disrupting our,
Right, they'll have to put in new infrastructure to feed the building themselves. And we have not seen a site plan yet. This is just the initial steps of going through this process, and so they intend, one of the things that you can see that was a recommendation from the building inspector, that plans be submitted and a site plan be submitted, and so we had, we wanted to make sure we got the building sited correctly. For example, we wanted to be at least 30 feet off the front, even though really code only would require maybe 20. So, but we want to be back far enough to allow for some growth and things like that, and some visibility there and some safety.
because there used to be a laundromat, main building there, right about in the center of that.
Right, many years
I think
ago.
it went out to the west, so. if-
So we'll have to do some they'll have to do some locates, and we'll have to see what the plans are as they go forward for construction.
Just wondering if there was a manhole in there or something.
I don't recall off the top of my head.
That would be private on the property itself, so.
All right.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I just,
Yes, Commissioner Smith.
just for reference then, the church that's buying this or proposing to buy it, is that the adjoining
Yes.
church to the west?
Yes, yes, and they would continue to use that building, the existing building, just for other activities. This new building would be for worship, for the most part, correct?
Yeah.
Any other discussion first? Need a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved in a second. Roll call vote, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Weinrice,
Aye.
Bragg,
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Now, the last one is 3.4. Barry, would you like to talk on this?
Okay,
one?
thank you, Mayor. You have in your packets a memo from myself along with the background detail, going back as far as, I believe, 2016 was when the variance was held for Red and Cindy to operate a campground there where they're at. What they are asking, they're asking that the limit of the 34, which I've checked, I can't find what the reasoning was behind that 34 in any of the background detail from the previous variance. But that was included as a limit from the Board of Adjustment that approved it last time. And so Red and Cindy and Josh and Jenny are all asking that be lifted, and they prefer if it were removed altogether, because they're now, there's parking in almost every part of that area out there for campground sites and everything else, and they're really the only ones that went through the process. So we don't currently have an allowable use anywhere out there for camping, and so this, because most of the improvements that are being added, and Red is in the process of adding more, Most of those improvements are being added within his main shop area that's enclosed by the fence. There are some that are outside of that, but it's to a much lesser degree. And so they're asking that that limit be lifted or removed altogether. And when we looked at it from that perspective, we didn't feel that it was, the use was being changed by any means. And so when I looked at that, the variance still remains in place. It's the use of camping that's being allowed. It's just the condition is either being removed or changed. That was a part of that from the original decision from this body as the Board of Adjustment. So with that, I would recommend that it be removed altogether, since there's really no other party out there that's being required to do the same things that he is and being limited as he is today. So this would make everybody the same and bring everything into compliance if the limit were removed. So I would recommend approval of the removal of that condition altogether.
Okay. Need a motion for that?
I'll make that motion.
Commissioner Wires makes a motion, need a second?
Second?
Second, Commissioner Smith. Now it's time for discussion. I know the applicant's here. Do you have anything that you'd like to add to that, Fred?
We put a lot of infrastructure out in that part of town. Ours all licensed. I mean, we've had licensed plumbers, electricians. The new Dex facility is gonna be coming. We've already full for this year. We need to add more. We've got 10 out there from Northwest Public Service right now. They've been there since October. When I originally did this, we hooked up 27 of them so we could take care of them all winter long. They're tied to our buildings. We put heat tapes up for them, put a heat valve on it so they can live there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We took the hospital people in 2 years ago when they put that addition on, and we kept them there. We take some private nurses that come to stay and doctors that come in. They park there 4 or 5 weeks a month. They come and go, so they have everything that they need. They're on concrete, or they want to be on grass, or they want to be on rock.
Any questions for Red?
I don't have any questions, but I have a few comments. You can probably fill us in more than what we know, but I think what part of the deal was the discussion here years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, was Barry did make a comment that you guys went through the motions and went through I understand that, and we thank you for that. There were several that did not. And I
Correct.
think where a lot of the numbers came from, and Dennis probably remembers this too, but there was too many sewers hooked up on one service, and we asked them to put check valves in their water so that
Backflow generators.
backflow, okay, and that wasn't being done either, and I think that's where most of the discussion came from.
Mine have been.
I know you have, I understand that.
We're tied to 5 different sewers though.
Right, but there's others out there that
Yeah,
weren't, and that's.
we're legal for everything. I mean,
Yep.
I got every electrical inspectors there every year. We require them to come.
Yep,
The plumbing is, the water, everything.
and
We
that's,
use licensed electricians.
that's the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
And we understand that, we
Agreed.
thank you for that. And I think that's where most of this discussion came from.
Correct. We have 4 hydrants on our facility within 100 feet from each one of the campers.
I guess that's why I'm saying I would be in favor of lifting it, and I would like the rest of them to hear that.
Okay. Any other questions for Red?
I have a question.
Yeah, Commissioner Smith.
Red,
Come out and take a ride. That's a no.
Are you planning to have all these as full hookups, or?
Everything's full. Everything is full. There's nothing that's gonna be full. Everything's got sewer, electricity, Wi-Fi, garbage, and electricity. Water. And water.
How many are you putting in?
I want 100.
Up to 100?
Yep. If I can buy the property to the south, it'd be 140. I'm working on trying to buy that now. I don't think I can get it bought, but
There's, as Commissioner Rubish was talking about, there's been kind of an off and on push and pull on trying to provide some ordinances on campgrounds. How would his plan, should that come to light again, as far as placement, would that present a problem?
I don't believe so. Today, as of, coming into today, there's not been any interest shown in going beyond where we've stopped with the camping, honestly. While, we've talked about it internally as staff and got as far as drafting an ordinance, but we never really got beyond work session status and things like that. And so, we have not looked at that issue any further than where we were 2 years ago. But I don't believe allowing him to come into compliance would necessarily create any kind of issues going forward if the commission were to decide to do that.
Well, yeah, and my point is that we had some basic frameworks and some.
Right. He's got
space
some of the biggest
requirements.
things that we were talking about in that ordinance were backflow preventers, being certified by, the state inspectors, those types of actions were going to be required going forward. Then there was going to be some limits in time. But when the state fair, who's the largest campground in town, had basically told us they weren't going to comply, regardless of whether we passed the ordinance, then I think it was felt that it's hard to govern one but not the other. And so that became kind of the stopping point from where we were.
Yeah, for Red's, or Wilk family's future plan,
Right.
all I'm getting at is, I hate for them to put this money into it, because now it's basically is one of the larger facilities out there, and it's gonna kind of set precedents on how we're doing it. Not to say that they're doing it, you're doing it to comply with health and city requirements, but.
I, as the planner, I guess I don't see that there's any issues that I can foresee at this time. So I don't know what it would be.
We dealt with Ralph last time.
Yeah.
He's pretty tough.
Well, and to your credit, I think it's a great opportunity, especially with
Oh, the
the
Dex,
Dex
the
building.
Dex facility coming now, you're gonna be full all the time.
We're gonna need it.
Yeah.
So,
Any other discussion? Seeing none, thanks, Red.
Thank you.
Okay, we need a roll call vote on that, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinrich?
Aye.
Bragg?
Aye.
Robish?
I,
Mayor Harrington?
Aye. That passed, okay. That's it for variances. We're gonna reconvene as city commission. For those who are here who just spoke, we are not offending you if you leave.
Hey, thank you guys very much.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Yeah.
Good to see you.
I should have added, we won't raise
Thank
the
you.
taxes if you leave.
Well, that sure thinned out the room.
Yeah.
promises you can't pay for.
Yeah, I know. All right, so we're back in session, people. I'll go over public forum first. Public forum comments can be sent during a live meeting broadcast of the city's YouTube channel. The link is listed on the city website at www.huron.com. City government, in order to use the YouTube chat feature, please create an account with YouTube and Gmail or using your existing accounts. Please state your name, address for the record. Public forum is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes per person. Does anybody have anything for public forum? Nathan is sitting on our computer tonight. If you have any questions on for public forum, you can send it to him, and he through Gmail, and he will stop the meeting, we'll talk about it. Only thing I have for public forum tonight, I have something, and that is our resolution 2021-2, sunsets today. That is the resolution that deals with masks. and public our buildings and public buildings, I believe. So it also sets, it sunsets the regulations for distance for our bars and restaurants and for plays and stuff like that. So I hate to say, quote, we're back to normal, but we're getting closer. So I urge you to maintain your due diligence as far as the pandemic and keep us all safe the best we can. So we're moving on. So with that, we will move on. Consent agenda. Matters appearing on the consent agenda are expected to be non-controversial and will be acted upon by the commission at one time without discussion unless a member of the commission requests an opportunity to address any given item. Items removed from the consent agenda will be discussed at the beginning of the formal items. And 6.1, minutes of the May 17th meeting. 6.2, fuel quotes for city departments. 6.3, proclamation Poppy Day, May 28th. 6.4, appointments to city boards and committees. 6.5, personnel items. Number 1, recommend hiring a Karen Hooby for Broadland Creek Pro Shop. Number 2, promote Kristen Cronin to account supervisor in the finance office. 3, hire Micah Larson for park maintenance. 4, rate correction of lifeguard for Tegan Feister. 5, recommend hiring Cindy Wells for a part-time custodian at Street Shop. 6, recognize the retirement of Kevin Eichman as a fire lieutenant from the fire department. And 7, post and advertise for a full-time firefighter position. And number 8 is one we added. And number 8 deals with golf maintenance. Is recommended hiring of Mark Mason Roselle for golf maintenance at $10.50 an hour effective 5/25/21. Recommend hiring of Tatum Carey for golf maintenance for $10.75 an hour effective 5/25/21. And recommend the hiring of Terry Rasmussen for golf maintenance for $10.75 effective 5/25/21. That is our items on our consent agenda. We gotta pay the bills. You guys always catch me on that one. We're gonna pay the bills at 6.6. So with that, I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Commissioner Rovers moves to approve. Need a second.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Smith. With that, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinreich.
Aye.
Craig.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Moving on to bid quotes, and we have Assistant Engineer Dennis Bennett here tonight to go over 7.1 and 7.2. Welcome, Dennis.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. First one here is change order number 2 for asphalt paving. These are adjustments to as-built quantities, basically. One thing we did that made it so much of a savings is we edge milled some of the streets instead of full mill width because they ended up curb and gutter along them or didn't have enough crown to them, so we put some crown in. So I recommend approval of change order for $32,081.71 deduct.
Together, Dan.
Okay. Payment request number 3 is for the progress payment for asphalt paving. This takes care of all the spring work we have for them, and that's $483,000, $483,001.74. Recommend approval.
Okay. Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robish. Discussion. Any discussion on this item? Commissioner? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinreich.
Aye.
Craig.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. 7.2, Dennis.
Okay, that's just asking for permission to go to bid for the bituminous road oil for the streets. With the volatility of the oil, we can't piggyback onto anyone this year, so we have to bid it out. Asking permission to go to bid.
Okay. I have a motion for this.
Move to approve start the bid process for the road oil.
Commissioner Smith, move to approve. Need a second?
Second.
Second. Commissioner Bragg. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, roll call vote, please. Thanks, Dennis.
Aye.
Heinrichs.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Thank you. Moving on to Petitions and Communications 8.1. Paulette.
All right, thank you, Mayor. This is our renewals for our malt beverage and South Dakota wine licenses. Just a note here, I don't know if you looked in your packet, but we actually have 40 of those licenses. No, you don't think about that. All the inspections have been done by the fire and the building inspector. There was no issues, no deficiencies. We received no comments in our office and asked for approval.
Need a motion to approve on this item.
So moved.
Commissioner Bragg, so moved it. Need a second?
Second.
Commissioner Weiners with a second. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinreich.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Department items. Announcement of odd even watering lawn, trees, and landscape. Commissioner Bragg, you're up on this one.
Thank you. Just a quick reminder as we move into that season of our odd even watering code ordinances. The day and time for sprinkling, watering, or irrigating of yards and grass by any method shall be regulated or prohibited as follows from June 1st to September 30th of each calendar year. Customers with odd numbered addresses ending with 1, 3, 5, 7, or 9 may water lawns, trees, and landscaping on Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Customers with even numbered addresses ending with 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8 may water lawns, trees, and landscaping on Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Watering for all addresses is permissible on Sunday. Watering of lawns, trees, and landscaping on any day is prohibited during the hours of 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Hand watering of vegetation such as shrubbery, trees, ground covers, plants, vines, gardens, vegetables, and flowers is permitted on any day at any time if the water is applied by hand with a hose that does not leak and is equipped with a handheld nozzle that automatically shuts off when released. Waivers may be issued by the city engineer or his designee for new sod, newly seeded areas, or any other use, and for the use of wells or river lake water. A list of those waivers will be available on the city website. Thank you.
Very good. Any questions on that? We don't need a motion to approve that, do we?
Nope,
Yeah.
that's just the public.
We got-
We will have it on our website.
Yeah. We got 10.2, consider authorizing the library director to apply for American Rescue Plan Act grant to convert library book security system from tape to RFID and authorize the mayor and the library director to sign all documents. And I see we have Shirley here with us tonight, so if you have anything to add to that, Shirley, you're welcome.
We're changing the amount from 46,000 to 55,000. There are a couple items when I gave you this amount that I hadn't added in yet, and I needed verification on it. So it's going to be for 55,000.
That's what you're asking for?
Yeah.
the grant.
And this is as they're issuing the money, they're hoping to have 3 different opportunities for a library to apply 3 different times for up to 100,000. So this is our first application. If it's funded, then the second round, we will be applying again, but we're gonna go for digitizing all our photos and yearbooks and city directories and stuff.
So that's really the gist, is you want to digitize, or, I can't even say it. That's the gist of the whole deal.
For the second one, yeah, is for digitization. This one, our book security system is a tape system, which works 90% of the time. The gates that you walk through as you go through in and out of the library, if you haven't checked out a book at the circulation desk and had that tape desensitized, the gates should go off and make it look like you're stealing our books. But But that technology is being sunsetted, and 3M is no longer making those gates. And we have been having problems with those gates. We had to swap out the east and the west just so that we had at least 80% accuracy there. And we have been talking at the library for quite some time of converting to RFID technology. But it is so expensive to do that. That's why with this grant, we can do it. Money is not coming out of our pocket unless there's an overage that we haven't applied and asked for an extension on that overage.
Okay. Very good. Any questions for Shirley on this?
Well, I was just gonna say, in addition to just the security, there's some benefits to being able to track the books and locate them. The RFID is an improvement, not just,
It's a big improvement. One of the best things it can do for us is can maintain the shelves in proper order. We will have a handheld device and the staff can just walk down the row and it will beep if a book is out of place. The other advantage is that our ILS system, the system that we use to check the books out and stuff, have come out with a new app that works with RFID, so people can download it on their smartphones and they can check out the books in the aisles as they're standing there looking at it, and then they never have to, you know, stop at the circ desk or stop at the self-checkout kiosk. So, and if we really wanted to use the technology, if somebody has not returned something to us and they said that they did, we can have chief of police take us in his car and drive by their house if they want, and it'll beep and tell us it's in there. Water meters.
but there's no plans for that part.
I don't know.
Heard that was a big sigh from our chief of police in the back of the room there. All right, thank you, Shirley. Appreciate it.
Just a couple things I was gonna ask, Mayor, if I may.
Well, you certainly can.
Chief can stand down the SWAT team on this thing, but, so how did you arrive at the cost of this?
I sent out, there are 3 different companies out there that help libraries convert to RFID. We originally had a proposal last fall when we, actually last budget season, when we were talking about and it got approved to get a self-checkout kiosk. They also did a quote for us on converting the collection to RFID. I went and got a second one so that I had a comparison, and it's the second one that I went with because it was a little bit cheaper, plus they're in Minnesota, which the other one is way down in Tennessee. So I went with the one that was closest to us. So I've got quotes and comparisons on it.
And does that include the labor? I mean, that's all inclusive in that package?
We do the labor, but they give us they give you like 2 trolley that are set up so that you attach the tags in the books and then wand them under a machine that assigns the frequency to that individual book. We have to do the labor, but in the cost is the workshop that they conduct for us and show us how to do it. They come to us and they show us how to do it, and then we have to do it ourselves. We could pay to have somebody do it for us, but you're gonna add an extra $10,000 on there. And then it's at their time frame, and we only have a year once we get the grant to get this done. And just in South Dakota alone, we're not the only library asking to convert to RFID. So this grant, which is nationwide, is putting a lot of pressure on library vendors to come across and.
So is there continuing costs after that as far
Yes,
as like subscription costs?
There's a subscription cost that I believe is around $2,000 a year. And then for your new books and new materials, you have to buy the RFID tags. Yeah, but that is equated to what we're already spending $1,000 for a roll of tattle tape strips. And we buy one of those probably every 14, 15 months. So it's equivalent to that.
Sure. Plus hopefully keeping better track of, or the ability to keep track of your stuff better.
Well, what happens is, sometimes when we're sensitizing the materials again, it doesn't take. That's part of where the technology is starting to fail. And so we end up putting books back on the shelf, or the computer doesn't read it right. And when we go to send out overdue notices, the material's sitting on our shelves. And we're having staff to have to go and check all this. This way, they would just have a wand and go through, and it'll beep and say, hey, this one didn't get checked in. And we could do that on a daily basis. We could have our library clerks going in and wanding and finding all those books that didn't make it.
And then just one final thing on the grant application itself, Shirley, what's the turnaround on that? Do you know?
We have a year to spend the money, and this type of grant is that we put out the initial cost, and then we're reimbursed for it. So that's where Pauline and her department come in, is submitting the invoices and stuff back through. We have the Norma Gilbert Trust that's for technology. We'll take the money out of that, but then the money that we get back goes back into that.
Grant, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, once you apply, how soon do you know that you're getting the grant?
We should know by mid to end of June.
Okay, so it's a fairly quick turnaround.
Right, because they're planning the second round for public libraries. Last week was the week we were supposed to get everything submitted. It would be the same equivalent in June and then in July also. But if they end up giving out the 2.194 million, you know, in the first two rounds, there won't be a third round.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, any motion?
I would move to approve the request to apply for the library ARPA grant.
Okay, need a second?
Second.
Okay. Need a roll call vote on that?
Smith,
Aye?
Meinrichs,
Aye.
Gregg,
Aye.
Robish,
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shirley. 10.3, Rich?
Well, we've got Chad and Ron here. We just wanted to talk through, we're looking at a opening date for Splash Central, and because of there's always issues, but especially this year with not opening the pool last year, there were a few more mechanical things that came up, and so that just potentially will impact the timeline for opening and the availability of everything, as well as finances. Now, as these guys will explain, the belief right now is everything will still be under what's already budgeted for expenses, but again, they have a little bit they want to run through just to give us an update of some of the issues that came up, and again, it may potentially mean that we don't have 100% of everything working at the scheduled opening date, so that's something that we want this group to be aware of. So, Chad, if you want to.
Come on up. Don't be bashful.
You wanna go first, Ron? Or you
No,
want me to come with you? Okay.
you're in this deeper than I am.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Commissioners.
Thank you, guys.
I guess Chad has prepared a synopsis of how we are to this point for the maintenance situation. And to let you know a little bit about what to expect, let the public know what to expect, and work with the overall situation as far as what's going to be operable and what may not be for a while. Okay? Basically, you have a handout. So Okay, Chad,
Want me to go for it?
you go.
Okay, so just to give you a brief synopsis of what's been going on up at Splash Central. The last week in April, we started firing up the 50-meter pool because Alex needed it for lifeguard training on May 8th. And also LaRon was asking us to kind of get things going early since we were closed up for a year, and he wanted to make sure that everything was gonna be operable. And we got that all cleaned out, got it going, fired up the Defender filter to start circulation, and we realized that there was a leak in the pool deck just outside of the mechanical room, in between the mechanical room and the well. I cut out the deck and dug down in there, and we realized that there was a 10-inch to an 8-inch adapter PVC that was cracked, so that required Olson's to come in, get it fixed. We ordered parts through Northwest Pipe. Everything went really good. The parts were here in a couple days. We got that fixed. We had along with that, the lines feed out into the gutters, and there was some of the stainless steel gutters were cracked on the top, so it was spraying water out on the pool deck, so we had to have Huron Welding come in with their mobile welding unit and weld those up. So 50 meter is good to go. We're ready for opening day. They've been doing some lifeguard training in it. All the heaters are running. We're up to speed on that, so that will be ready to go May 28th. The leisure pool, we had basically no problems with that firing it up, except for I had an issue upon startup that the filter was ramping down, so I couldn't get it to circulate, so I had to have Muth come in and work on it for a day. I got to talk to some people I haven't got to talk to in a long time, because Brandon, who was the first young man that broke ground on that pool, he's out in Oregon now working. I got to talk to him for a while. He's kind of my brains when I have an issue like that. And then he in turn referred me to Mike, who was the guy that set up the mechanical room when we first started up. He's down in Texas now, so I got to talk to both of those guys. So that was kind of interesting. We got to catch up a little bit, but the bottom line was we got the leisure pool going. Lazy River, we got the Lazy River as far as putting the tubes in the water and floating around the river. We're good to go for opening day. Our issue is the master blaster, the slide. We want it, when I start that up, I like to get all the water clean first in the pool itself, and then I start up the slides because of how the plumbing works in there. I like to keep everything, get that clean so I don't make the slide dirty when we first start it up. And when I went to start that up, there was a fault on the VFD of the master blaster, the variable frequency drive, we'll call it. And immediately I dispatched Muth. I had him come out, like, Dave, we got to get this figured out. And he worked on it for about a half a day. He called Eaton, that's our tech support for the VFDs, and he could not get through to them that day because they were very busy. So the next morning he called, came out on the pool deck, and he said, Chad, that VFD is down. So we had to go into let's get this fixed mode because we know we're under a timeline. When he was doing that, there was a couple times where he got it to bump just a little bit, and it filled some water into the line that feeds the master blaster. It's a 60 horse motor underneath the pool, underneath the slides, I'm sorry, and it goes up into the master blaster. It's all above ground. We noticed that there was a glue joint that had let go and it's leaking. It was dripping underneath. So that leads us with two issues for the reason why we have three variables in our formula for starting that on the May 28th. The first thing is that we need a VFD here. The second thing is we need Olson Construction and Northwest Pipe to get our parts to fix it. And the third thing is because we're tampering with the master blaster slide, we need that slide recommissioned or recertified. So Whitewater West out of Canada, I've been in contact with them. They have a guy working on the north side of Chicago that is actually was here, and he certified our slides the first time, and he is on standby. I talked to him today because when I originally started this process, I told him our goal is to have that thing going on May 28th. We want the kids to ride down that slide on May 28th. So he had his flight booked for May 26th to come out here, and I don't feel that that's feasibly going to happen. We're not going to have the materials here. Okay, so that's where we're at with that. So I want to go over a little timeline on how I think this is going to go down. When are we going to be able to start the master blaster? around June 3rd, they said that was a 1 week to a 2 week delivery time for the VFD. So I'm guessing that around June 3rd, that VFD will arrive and Muth will be out here immediately to install. So we'll have that fixed. The broken pipe, the broken parts above ground, Brett Pearson from Northwest Pipe told us that that's a 7 to 10 day. So I'm feeling like that's gonna be around on June 4th. We have the site prepped already for Olson's to come in and dig it out and repair that. I talked to Randy this afternoon. Randy told me when that pipe gets here, they will work, if it gets here at 2 in the afternoon, they're gonna come out there and they're gonna dig it up and they're gonna fix it the next morning. But it will be done within a day of when the parts are here. With Whitewater West, he said, when you get a tracking number on the last part that's gonna get here, let me know. I will be here to help you unload it. We will certify that slide and you will be rolling immediately. So that's where we're at. So my guesstimation is that no later than Monday, June 7th, the Master Blaster will be running. So that means that ride will be down about 10 days from startup. That's where I'm at with it. So that's kind of that's our icon of the water park. So we're working very hard to make sure that we get that going, and it'll be my commitment to make sure that I'm there the whole time to make sure that moves along. Lazy River Motion Pump 3, that's the pump on the south side of the Lazy River that pushes the tubes past the well in the Master Blaster. And you guys probably don't remember this, but the first year we ran with that, there was a lot of issues with that pump, and actually we ran almost the first year without that pump because of some wiring issues that we later resolved. And that pump is locked up. We had Dakota Pump come up last Monday and check it. It won't turn, so Ron had him give us a quote to remove that pump, but we might run for a while without that, but nobody's gonna know. No one's gonna know it. The pool's still gonna function, the Lazy River. So I guess I don't know, Ron, do you guys have any questions of me that?
I'm gonna, just look on the Optimus side here first. Basically, the blue body slide's in operation. And to open like this is not a big inconvenience to the public. So we feel that it's well worth it to the public to open it this way. And then be upfront about when the Master Blaster is going to be operational. So thanks to Chad. I appreciate him staying with us. He's as dedicated as they come. And he's going to have to stay more dedicated to get her done.
So if that's all above ground, Chad, why are we having Olson's come in and do that?
The size of the pipe. And it's all MJ fittings, so everything, and it's 10-inch, everything is 10-inch. And when that pipe comes out of the vertical,
Yep.
and it goes in a 90s down, and I don't feel like I don't have the experience to fix that.
So we do have to do some digging there too?
They have to do some digging to make the connection on the pipe that goes underground, so we cleared those big oversized rock. Mike and I cleared out about a 6x6 area. They bring their Vactor, their Vaxcavator in. They'll suck it out so they can get down, and so they can make that connection. They use Mega Lugs and MJ fittings. It's all metal, and we're in the park system. About the biggest we get to work on is 6-inch PVC, but so.
No, that's, okay, that's good.
So, but that's what we're doing, and there's a second fitting that's back a little farther right next to the pump that Brett said, we should probably, that was starting to separate too. It's like the sun is beating down on the glue joints, and I don't disagree with him. So they're just gonna get all that fixed while they're in there, so hopefully we don't have to touch it again for several years.
As long as we keep it going.
Yeah, right, yep, which we're going to now. Yeah, we're good now. Mayor Harrington said we're good now, so we're gonna be. Now, there's one key thing that I have to ask about the Master Blaster and this recommissioning. I need 5 volunteers to come down and ride the tubes down the water slide in order for, anybody who wants to get their suit on, you'll be on call. Remember, I don't know if Pauline was with us when we first did that or not, but, oh, good, yeah.
But I
Laura McGurr and I were on a two-person tube, and they had it turned up just a little bit too far, and they shot us down there, and we bounced off the wall on the other side of the lazy
Don't
river.
say that when you're trying to get volunteers.
Oh, yeah.
Don't
This,
do it.
this is why we're,
Oh, yeah, and Dennis and I raced down the body slide.
this is why we're recommissioning it, to make sure that it
Yeah.
don't bounce too much. But there was a lot of screaming that day, I remember that.
And a lot of the decisions on that water park, I make them, and I go in and tell Ron what I'm gonna do, and then he's fine with it, and we kinda move on. But this, because of the liability on that slide and the safety of the kids, I thought that more people needed to be involved, especially if we're start tampering with VFDs and, the change in the plumbing, you don't know, and I thought it was a liability, so that's why I brought it up to Ron and Commissioner Bragg, that I thought we should maybe discuss it and get it out in the open a little bit.
As far as cost goes, I haven't seen all the bills, but we're about half of that pool repair and supply budget right now. So we've got some to work with yet.
And the costs are gonna go, we know there's more costs coming, but that's where hopefully nothing else comes up in this year's budget that we have to address.
I have a question, if I can ask.
Yes?
So you mentioned on Lazy River motion pump number 3 that it's locked up, but the river can run without it. So why do we need it? Is it a circulation thing? Is it a cleanliness thing?
I feel that it slows the tubes down when they come around. It's designed to push the tubes past that well where they come out. And it was a design, designed by the pool company. We're gonna find out, what's gonna happen if we don't have it, which we did use that the whole first year without it. And I can't tell you, I guess, what I told Dakota Pump is that, it may not necessarily be a rush to get this done, but my thought was on it is that the water park is new enough where we don't wanna start leaving pumps and stuff locked up. Now, we wanna keep everything operational, so that we can keep everything going, as it is new, since it's only 8 years old.
Right. I mean, obviously there was something in the design, the hydraulics, if you would have.
Yeah, and I didn't have time today, but I was gonna have a kid, we have a bunch of kids, part-time kids working up there, and I was gonna have somebody get on a tube and just go by and see how much they slow down when it gets to that motion pump 3 area. Because there's 2 pumps on the master blaster. One pump is an entry pump, it fills the tub up the top to put the tube in, and then it pushes the water down that enclosed area. So I've been running that so I can try to circulate water out of the well. So I had that going, and I was gonna see how much they slowed down when they come around. So, but I did not have time to do that.
Traffic of the tubes that first year wasn't an issue at all.
So it's basically just a pushing through that thing.
Yeah, there are 3 motion, exactly, yes, it's to push them by so there isn't congestion where the tubes are coming down out of the slide and when they're coming by. So then you always know motion pump 3 because it has those little jets on the deck that shoot over onto the people. That's motion pump 3 on the south side, and it's motion pump 1 on the north side. So we'll know that that's not running because those won't be shooting water off the deck. So. Any other questions? Rich, did I miss anything?
I just would like to say, because one of the questions I asked, that type of thing, how could we have not had this happen? Because that's gonna be the question, but why wasn't this ready? These VFDs, there's basically just a really fancy pump, but they don't have a shelf life. So it's not like we could have a stack of those sitting around. And they did start it up early and found the fault immediately and had Muth get a new one ordered the same day that they figured out it was a fault. So, there's not a whole lot we could have done differently, because we can't just have one of those. First of all, they're, $12,000 pump. You don't necessarily want to have that kind of spare part sitting around anyway, but they don't have a shelf life where we could just have a spare. So, that I do want to credit these guys, Chad in particular, how quickly every call he's talking about and every email I've seen these are not a quick thing to get the guy lined up, to certify it, to get the pump coming and track that, and to get Olson's out there ready to do the work. If anybody in the community says, well, hey, they were lazy at the city and that's why it's not open, I can tell you for a fact, these guys have done absolutely everything within their power to get it open as quickly as possible. And to think that we're gonna have to replace the key component of the structure of that master blaster, plus the huge 10-inch plumbing, and we're talking about maybe missing 10 days of operating time is, even though we'd love to have it open on day one, it's actually a big credit to these guys and everything they've done to get us there.
Thank you. Any other questions for me?
It's like 61 degrees that day.
Yeah, it's gonna be a cool Memorial Weekend.
But, I do think we probably should notify, whether it's, I don't know, we can certainly announce it during this forum, but whether we have the chamber send something out, just in case somebody would show up at the park thinking, I'm disappointed that if the master blaster's not running, I don't wanna go, we should publicize that it won't be open, and again, it'll only be that first week plus, so I think anybody that really, really wants that portion won't have to delay their trip long, but we wouldn't want somebody to show up expecting that and have it not be there.
And I put that June 7th date down as my estimate, but my guarantee to you, Mayor and the Commissioners, is that if I can get everything together sooner, we will be running sooner.
Just for clarification, the whole park isn't shut down, it's just those.
Just the one slide, just the green slide.
The other slide will be running, the big
The
pool,
body slide,
the
yeah.
drop slide and the 50-meter pool, all the kids' play features and the leisure pool, everything else will be up and running. It's just the large master blaster slide will be the only one that'll be down for a little over a week.
Very good. Thanks, guys.
Yep, thank you.
All right, couple more items. Rich, you're up again.
Yeah, a couple of solid waste department notes here. Solid waste department Rubble site will be closed on Saturday, May 29th and Monday, May 31st in observance of the Memorial Day weekend. Monday's garbage, recycling, and grass collection will be done on Wednesday, June 2nd. Please remember to have your containers out the night before. Drivers will not be rerouted. If you have questions on that, please call 353-8542. And another general note, the solid waste department will be beginning Monday, May 24th. Garbage, recycle, and grass route collection will begin at 6 a.m. because we finally have some warmer temperatures. This will continue through the summer months. Again, please have the containers out the night before because they won't be rerouted if you miss it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. 10.5, announcement, the city commission will not hold a meeting and city offices will be closed on Monday, May 31st in observation of Memorial Day holiday. I suggest if you see a veteran, thank them for their service over the weekend or any other day. And I don't think we need to take a vote whether we'll be open or not on Memorial Day.